Greenhouse gas emission standards. It doesn't reset anything. It eliminates everything.
And now there are people in power who don't care about making compromises. After years of being told what I can and can't do in my hobby, that's what you get for not sitting down with us and coming to a compromise. I'm not going to protest when they deregulate everything. Well, this sucks. I lost my sunglasses, so I can't wear the hater blockers. Whoa. Hey all. So, politics. I'm going to do my best today to not get shot. But, as I'm sure we're all aware at this point, the mere act of entering a politicized dialogue about anything essentially means you're putting your life on the line. What a time we live in. I mean, hey, in the UK, speaking freely leads to you getting intimidated or arrested by the police. In the US, well, it gets you shot now, apparently. And all of this is not as shocking as it probably should be. But it is appalling. Anyways, in the US, various individuals and elements of our government have joined the good fight to deregulate the emissions of cars and other vehicles. And before some of you start to sob for the ozone layer and pout for the Amazon, do you really think the government cares about the climate? All those politicians pushing EVs and all that stuff, the shutting down of refineries. I'm willing to bet the governments of the world care just as much about the environment as they do about children and the Epstein victims. I mean, hey, remember back in the day, you know, like the 2010s, late 2000s, where leaders around the world were making the push that diesel-powered vehicles were the way to go. They were economical and good for the environment. Why does no one talk about that anymore? I don't know what it is, but we need to stop going back over and over again to just blindly trusting politicians when they say they have our best interests at heart. It's like watching someone return to their abusive ex and just breaking up over and over again just to get back together, thinking this time it's different. People always talk about pattern recognition. I feel like there's a pattern here. Are we ever going to learn? But, you know what? When it comes to, say, Lee Zeldin of the EPA, he did not mince his words in July of 2025, where he spoke at a Kenworth factory, where he said light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles will no longer have their emissions be regulated.
Garrett Bergquist, Wish TV, Indianapolis. In effect, if placed into effect as currently envisioned, does this rule effectively reset the emission standards for autos, light, medium, heavy-duty trucks back to 2008 standards? What sorts of things will be left in place? What will be taken out?
As it relates to greenhouse gas emission standards on light duty, medium duty, and heavy duty, it doesn't reset anything. It eliminates everything.
Not there will be exemptions or exceptions, nothing. No regulations, nada. Which I think is great, because ultimately, it changes nothing. For those of you who are educated and don't have stocks in Tesla, Rivian, and so on, and don't wear political virtues as accessories, you may remember learning about carbon footprints. Let's talk about, say, my carbon footprint. I learned things I could do to mitigate my carbon footprint could include things like using public transportation. I mean, you might get stabbed, as we've seen, but public transportation. Or if you want to be safe, you can have one car. One car per family is fine. That's not too bad. Turn off lights in rooms you're not using. Don't have a whole bunch of appliances. Those smaller appliances use a lot of electricity. Commute by walking or riding a bike, so long as you aren't insufferable or colorblind. Just so you know, red means stop. You're thinking about it. Oh, and most importantly, never ever get on a plane, especially internationally. You see, I used to live and travel internationally, and one international flight just makes your carbon footprint explode. So it doesn't really matter what I do as an individual at this point. I mean, I wonder if anyone has done the math. Is Taylor Swift and her private jets, because I'm pretty sure she has more than one, is Taylor Swift and her private jets worse for the environment than an oil tanker? So, why is this important to me? Well, for one, I'm building a race car, and I'd like to be able to complete my race car without being hunted down like I'm a former member of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. In the past, the EPA has gone after individuals with modified vehicles, small shops deleting trucks, to larger companies who produce aftermarket performance parts that they have deemed to be making emissions defeat devices or whatever. You know, we've got 5-figure fines, 6-figure fines, 7-figure fines, the revoking of business licenses, and incarceration. You'd have a better shot at getting a stint in weekend jail after making an appearance on To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen than some of the guys modifying vehicles. It's crazy. Chris Hansen's telling you to take a seat. You're embarrassed. You spend a very short amount of time in jail. Maybe you have to register depending on the state, but God forbid you cut off your catalytic converters. Straight to the guillotine. So, Lee Zeldin has made his intentions clear, but he is not the only one. Separate from Zeldin, other politicians are working together and have crafted HR4117. Now, I can't take the credit for even being aware of this. I have to give the credit to TK's Garage. HR4117. This particular House resolution is called the Fuel Emissions Freedom Act. If passed, all emissions regulations for all vehicles would be repealed. It would prevent any and all state or federal regulations from being reinstated or created. And I'm hearing rumors that it could get squeezed into a budget bill just to speed up the process of passing it, alongside things like the Transportation Freedom Act. I mean, hey, it's fair game. The Democrats did it in the last presidency, making huge bills that are impossible to read before they get voted on. Now the Republicans are doing that. It's just, the ball just happens to be on the other side of the court now. So I'm for it. Now you may be thinking, but this seems a bit extreme. Repealing every emissions regulation for vehicles could be taking this too far. And in a way, I agree with you. But here's the thing. Every time enthusiasts, truck drivers, mechanics, shop owners, or parts manufacturers tried to introduce legislation suggesting things like policies or regulations to establish a middle ground or compromise kind of solution where there's exceptions, but not just a complete repealing of the regulation system, trying to be reasonable, pretty much. Every time attempts like that were made, they were shut down. So when we asked for exceptions for performance vehicles made for motorsport, or cars that aren't driven that often, or cars that get trailered or are collector vehicles, every time we made those suggestions, they got shut down. And everyone trying to ask for stuff like that were dismissed as enemies of the climate and fools wanting to destroy the environment. We were treated like we have malicious intent, that we do not care for the world and those of us around us. I mean, come on, how much of the global population is comprised of automotive enthusiasts who have the time and money to spare on modifying their vehicles and the emission systems of their vehicles? It's gotta be such a small fraction that allowing them to build just whatever they want so long as the safety equipment's intact, it should be inconsequential to global emissions. I mean, that's just one example. But you ignored all of us for a very long time. And now there are people in power who don't care about making compromises. And let me tell you, after years of being told what I can and can't do in my hobby when it actually affects no one, no matter how diluted these victims of my exhaust fumes may be, I'm not going to protest when they deregulate everything. That's what you get for not sitting down with us and coming to a compromise. That's what you get for ignoring us. Now that the ball is on our side of the court, we don't care if you're not ready for our serve. So all I have to say to everyone, to all the people that are upset about this, choke on it. And I'm not talking about CO2. As for everyone else, folks who want their trucks to be reliable, want their race cars to be awesome, and people who want to be able to make the parts they want or buy the parts they want to buy, rest assured, I'll let you know when we win. Let's manifest this victory, because when it happens, I think we should make it a holiday where we celebrate by letting off a few revs, doing a harmless pull or two, and hey, if you have the room, do a burnout that would make Dale Earnhardt give you a thumbs up. It's time we reminded these bullies that no one has the right to be unaffected by the joy of other people.